every once in a while you have to deal with the truly sadistically insane, and you might be in a situation that you need to be in for financial reasons because it's a job. And so you, after a while, you realize that trying to defend yourself, trying to not be bullied and harassed isn't working, because the insane people that are attacking you, they don't respond to reason because they are nervous wrecks and very angry, not at you, but at their general life. I'm talking, of course, about the Skinny magazine, and I know on one level I'm doing a free plug here for them because they have no presence on video, and here I am talking about this thing and showing the branding. But this is the latest magazine that came out, and it was sent to the printers in PDF final proof form 10 minutes before I got fired. And so if we look on page 4, you can see here, let me see if I can get that right. Is my name in there somewhere? Where is it? Anyway, maybe I'm looking at the wrong bit. Oh no, there it is, there's my name there. So you can see there. Anyway, there's a guy here who owns the little lockup, and hello, I'm just doing a video, it's okay. Yeah, no problem. So which is quite weird, like, I worked really hard and I put my head down and I actually did the effort. And if I can give you a bit of background as to what happened, I was interviewed in the trendiest coffee shop in Manchester called Tak, which is Icelandic for thank you, I believe. It's also the name of one of the Sigur Rós albums, because I think in Scandinavia, Tak means thank you in quite a few of the countries. And during the interview with the sales director and the line manager, I was myself. I spoke about my YouTube channel, I spoke about my past, I spoke about how I built it from 0 to 15 million views, and how I've got 66,000 subscribers, and I update regularly, and how I've managed to survive being self-employed. And I was very bombastic. I'll wait for this car to go past. I don't think I've quite got the camera level, but anyway, it doesn't really matter, does it? I was very myself. I was very enthusiastic and very alive, and the coffee in Tak is very strong. So I was you know, my usual self. And they gave me the job. Within 3 days of starting work there, my line manager, I could see her. She's a nervous wreck of a woman. She's 30 years old. She's emaciatedly thin. She truly is the skinny, but not in a healthy way. And she sits there all day frowning and biting her nails and getting angry. And so I come in all confident and happy, and I treat everyone I meet like an equal. And so regardless of whether they're a director or a manager or editorial staff, I'll chat, I'll be friendly, I'll answer questions, I'll ask them questions. And within 3 days, my line manager was snapping at me in front of everyone, saying, look, if you're gonna keep wasting my time every 2 minutes asking stupid questions, how can I answer that? And she kept nitpicking at my work and harassing me, and she, you know, seek and you will find, she was looking for little mistakes, and she'd say things like, this is nonsense, or I'm ashamed of you. And so I noticed after about 10 days in the job that she had it in for me, and I don't think she was conscious of it. I don't think it's rational. I think it's truly an insanity of captive humans, and there's nothing worse than an office for human beings. I mean, I haven't worked down a coal mine, I haven't worked on an oil rig, but I have worked in offices, and this office was no different. A nasty, hierarchical, hen-pecking mood descended on that office. And the sales staff that are loud, I was one of the advertising sales execs, and I should have followed Bill Hicks's advice and killed myself for working in advertising, but it turns out I got ejected anyway. So after about 10 days of this nitpicking, I wrote down a list of 8 things, and I'm not going to list them here. Maybe, you know, if the skinny replies, I can then go through the things. And I was very careful. I know how to play the political game. I know how to not threaten people. So I said, Caroline is her name, my ex-line manager, I said, look, do you have a problem with me? Are you angry at me? Do you not feel I'm doing my job properly? Because I feel victimized and bullied and harassed, and I think there's something about me which is threatening you, which you hate. And looking back, I think it's the happiness, the bombasticness, the kind of joyful thing around the office. And the irony is that the skinny vision, their mission statement, in the Jerry Maguire style Americanized mission statement, one of the very first lines of the skinny vision is, we aim to create a happy work environment. And when you look at the magazine, you know, Pet Shop Boys on the back cover, all sorts of fancy things, it's, you know, it's I'm not going to slate the magazine, because it's not the magazine that's the problem. The editorial staff do a very good job, and the other advertising execs, including myself, are also doing a job. I joined and I managed to get 2 big adverts in here on new clients, not account management, but new blood, so that I was doing my job very well. And anyway, so for I had a meeting with Caroline, and she got increasingly stressed and angry because here was one of her underlings questioning the hierarchy. And in life, to my younger viewers, you'll notice that there's always 2 hierarchies. There's a natural, I guess, consciousness or biological hierarchy, and then there's a fake, clinical, imposed office hierarchy. And my big crime was to resort to the kind of natural hierarchy where I'm a 33-year-old man. I feel I understand myself. I feel that no one should be snapped at and humiliated in an office environment. No one should be bullied. No one should feel victimized. So I expressed these things to Caroline, and she got angrier and angrier and denied everything. She goes, no, that's your interpretation. And she never apologized. She did that condescending, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry you feel that way. And I said, look, I want to raise a grievance procedure, because this was like, okay, the second meeting I said, I want to raise a grievance procedure because I feel you're bullying me. And she kind of said, no, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. We won't be allowed to work together. So I went and had a cigarette, had a cup of tea, cleared my head, came back. And because I felt I'd kind of evened the balance out, I let Caroline know that you don't bully people at work. I felt that I'd kind of made my feelings known. I never said anything bad about her. I expressed my unliking, my dislike of the bullying. And she goes, I said, okay, look, I won't raise a grievance procedure. I'm not going to take this any higher. Of course, behind the scenes, I'm at my desk working away, work. And Caroline, she must have been seething. She then goes to the sales director and the owner of the company, the publisher that started it in Scotland 8 years ago. And she tells them all sorts of things about me, saying that I can't take leadership, I can't be managed, which is ridiculous. I've worked in sales jobs before. A salesman or a saleswoman, you have your desk, you have your phone, you have your computer, and you treat it like a self-employed position. And it's famous within sales that managers are useless, because managers manage to demotivate you and take out their stresses on you, which lowers the happiness in an office and makes sales harder. So like, it's famous in sales. Look up other sales experiences of people. So you cannot really, like, you can help a salesperson by making them happy. Like, if you're training a horse, you can either beat it with a whip or give it sugar cubes when it does well, and the horse will probably learn a lot quicker if you give it sugar cubes. So I then went home that night, and I said, oh, maybe I've made Caroline feel bad, because after all, I'm a human being, and whether she's my manager or not, I could see that she's a very nervous, upset person. Not with me, just generally. She's stressed the whole time. So I sent her a text message saying, look, I'm up at night with my baby. I've got relationship issues that happen. Myself and the mother of my child, we fight sometimes. So look, I'm sorry if I was a bit stressed with you. And she never responded. She didn't respond. I thought, how bizarre. So we just sat there, and I didn't raise it. She didn't raise it. I thought, that's it, solved. Anyway, come Friday, this is 2 Fridays ago, the sales director and the owner of the magazine, they take me out and they're like, yeah, we hear that you're causing trouble after only 2 weeks in the company, and you're very sensitive, and Caroline's very upset, and you're making her feel bad, like you're not being fair with her. And I said, well, what? So I told them my list of 8 things that Caroline was doing, and they're like, no, Charlie, it doesn't matter, like, you've only been in the company 10 working days and you're causing this trouble. And I said, well, if someone's being victimized or bullied, the chronology of it doesn't matter. You can be bullied and victimized on day 1 or day 10 or day 5 million. And they're like, you got to learn how to take orders. And I said, yeah, look, taking orders is no problem. I've been in the military. I've worked for big banks. It's just when people use the power play of the false hierarchy in an office to unload their hatred onto you. You know, human beings are mammals, and mammals in captivity, they kill their own children, they eat their own children, they attack each other. It's common. A very sad story of some, I think it was in China, who don't have the best record for how they treat their animals. And a mother elephant kept trying to stamp and kill her baby elephant calf. So in captivity, people do reprehensible things, and I could see it happening with the sales director and the manager. But anyway, the sales director, Lara, she then sent me an email, and she said, look, you need to learn how to take advice. So I wrote back on a Saturday saying, look, no problem, I'm going to be the grey man, keep my head down, work really hard. And that was that, you know, I thought that's the end of it. Anyway, the week continues. Caroline is still a nervous wreck sat to my left as my line manager. And she is like, after every single call I make, she's like sat there going, no, Charlie, that was wrong. You didn't say this, you didn't say that in that order. And I was like, okay, no problem. Yeah, I understand. And because I wasn't reacting, she got more and more pissed off, because the unconscious desire to kind of attack someone is to kind of create conflict. And because I wasn't conflicting anymore, she got more and more pissed off. And the fact that I got 2 big sales in 6 days, that pissed them off even more, because they were looking for any excuse to just have a go and attack. And I got 2 big sales in and rescued half a page of the magazine at the 11th hour by having a meeting with a guy on Oldham Street in the Northern Quarter and getting a big half-page ad in here. And so I kept my head down, did my 50 calls a day, and then Lara changes the goalposts in the Friday meeting, and she goes, no, you need to be doing 60 calls a day. And I didn't even raise it with her. I could have said, yeah, but you said yesterday 50. Anyway, so it's just madness. It's not rational. You know, some famous bearded hipster in history said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. They don't have a fucking clue at the Skinny. And the reason why I'm not going to attack this magazine is because there's people there that I like. The editorial staff, the sales team up in Scotland. These are good people, just like me, who are just looking to pay the rent and, you know, work for something fun. But the office here, there is a cancer at the Skinny, and it is management. And management is pointless. It doesn't really need to be there. You need an owner and a sales team. But this kind of creation of this henpecking hierarchy, all it's done is create a very bad energy in that office. And anyway, so we had a big sales meeting, and Lara, she goes, Charlie, can I speak to you for 10 minutes? And this is after she'd assigned me like 5 or 6 big tasks that were going to take days to do. So I had no idea I was going to get fired, and they sent this off to the printers with my name on it. Anyway, she's like, yeah, tell me, how have you instigated the response from my email? I mean, what did I say in my email? And I paraphrased. I said, well, you said, you know, don't be so sensitive, keep your head down and take orders from management without complaining. And she goes, well, that's not exactly what I wrote, is it? What'd I write? And this is classic, like, bully, stressed out asshole tactic. You ask questions of new people that you know they're not going to be able to answer. And I'm not the only person she was doing this to. And it's not just questions for new people, but you know, in that job you get hundreds of emails a week, you're constantly doing things. So I had to paraphrase the email which I responded to. I said, look, what's up? And then she goes, look, Charlie, you've got a very bad energy, you're making Caroline upset, you're upsetting the rest of the sales team. And I said, hold on a second, I've never said anything to anyone. I get on well with everyone except you and Caroline, and you're the ones that, and for basically this, to cut a long story short, me complaining about being victimized and bullied lost me my job, because I showed them a mirror, a front of themselves that they were completely unwilling to see, and it was much easier for them to blame me. And the funny thing is, like, when she did actually fire me, here were the reasons. Chatting to the editorial team, taking 3 cigarette breaks a day, not being aware of 1 or 2 key things on the system, which, you know, I was only there for 3 weeks. I was new, that's acceptable. I didn't follow the absolute worded script for the first 5 days in my job, which I then did, and that was fine, and I was selling well. And basically, as they were firing me, I said, look, this is constructive dismissal, this is against the law. But I didn't know at the time that you have to be in a job for 2 years before you're eligible for taking that to a tribunal for constructive dismissal or unfair dismissal. So all I have is the court of public opinion, which is you guys, and you can decide whether you want to deal with Caroline Harlow and Lara Maloney of the Skinny. I think if the Skinny magazine got rid of those 2 cancerous tumours, it could be very successful. And the reason why I joined is that I felt this could be the next and the cooler Scottish Vice magazine. You know, so that's why I joined. And the irony as well, I was telling them about my film premiere on the very Friday I got fired. On the morning I was saying, look, this big premiere in Berlin, all the German media is going to be there, we could do a media partnership with the Skinny. And I think maybe, you know, that office they've already got 2 big egos in there. Maybe they felt that a third one was not welcome. But it's so weird because I was actually quieter in the office than I was during my interview. And you know, every story's got 2 sides, but I then told Lara, I said, look, you're a director, you know what constructive dismissal is. And she got exasperated, she like lost it. She goes, I cannot speak to you anymore, I'm gonna go get the owner. So I went back to my desk and the owner then took me downstairs. I thought it was gonna be a, everything okay, calm down, because the owner, Sophie, she was generally quite nice to me, but she took me downstairs and fired me. And you know, I got the job because I have a 1-year-old son and I put the effort in. But I think what this experience shows, like, and it's funny because I was praising the magazine and hipsters the night before I got fired on video. It shows the dark side of hipsterness. It shows how a lot of the people use a job or their position in a company to play out this kind of vindictive, nasty power play. And they use it as a kind of a release for their hatred. And you know, like battery chickens, to come back to the kind of captive animal analogy, they have to sometimes de-beak them because they just peck at each other's eyeballs and want to kill each other. Much like elephants or panda bears or hamsters killing their young. And in that office, I was an underling. I was just the very newest guy. And for acknowledging that there was a very bad vibe in terms of bullying and harassment and condescension towards people, for saying like, hang on a second, I'm an equal human being, like, let's just like all get on. And like, but it was constructive dismissal, it was a harassment thing, and they are now, they call the, anyway, that's, I think 16 minutes is enough to explain my case. But anyway, to all the advertisers around Manchester, just know that you're dealing with some very disturbed people. Thank you.